say that you're turning up, but we're ripping the knob off. Boy, you got a buzz, my motherfuckers cannot walk. We're just getting started.
So what's going on today, guys? It's your boy Dragon Master coming at you. Before we start this video off, I just want to say that I hope you guys like the new intro into the videos. As you can tell, I am starting to fool around with video editing a little bit, so that I can hopefully bring you guys some better quality videos. That being said, sorry, I got stuff in my mouth, kind of a late night nicotine craze, but I wanted to do this video as well, so kind of bear with me on that. So, on to the topic of the video. So as we all know, Konami has dropped a bombshell in the last couple of days with the release of an emergency ban list that takes place as of November 6, 2017. And when I first heard about this from one of my sources, which is a friend of mine, I first thought, okay, what are they hitting on the ban list? What deck is basically fucked up this bad that we need another ban list so quick? And when I took a look at the ban list and saw that a couple of the cards were from the Spiral deck, I about lost my shit. Like, you have no idea how happy I was to see that the Spiral deck got hit on that ban list. Now, while these cards didn't get banned, none of their cards got banned, they still took a very significant hit because two of their key players got dropped down to 1. And of course, those key players are Spiral Gear Drone and Spiral Quick Fix. And I've gone up against several Spiral decks. I have a great deal of respect for them and their ability to do what they do, but one thing I found myself realizing as time went by and I started dealing with more and more Spiral decks is that basically Spirals is a main deck powered version of Zodiac. Plain and simple. And again, just the more time went on, the more I found myself, going up against these decks, the more I just realized it. And I've gone up against several variations of the deck. I've gone up against Pure Spiral. I've even gone up against, a Cosmo Spiral Hybrid. And then it was just ridiculous what the deck is capable of doing. It definitely brought us in to that era that Konami wanted us to be in, where the decks power are more, main deck centered now. But it still presented quite an issue because basically, we're out of the extra deck era now, back into the main deck, but we still have the same issue with Spirals that we had with Zodiac. So, what do I think this means for Spiral? Basically, I think it means what it's meant for several other decks that have gotten hit over the years, and that's basically that Spirals is going to die out now. For a lot of people that run the decks, it's a sad fact, but it's still a fact. Because, let's face it, Zodiac, while it is still played to an extent, it's not played very often anymore because it lost 2 of its key players. Spirals didn't lose their key players completely, but with the decks being, with these 2 cards being brought down to 1 now, it's definitely, going to bring into perspective that, hey, Spirals isn't as good as it used to be. It's not as much of a danger as it used to be either. So, I look for that deck to basically, just fade off into the distance and become a very, very distant and happily forgotten memory. So I mean that basically, covers the topic for the main topic for the video in about 5 minutes. So another thing I wanted to talk about, and I know some of you are probably getting grossed out by me spitting and shit. Just again, bear with me. We all get our nicotine in somehow. You know, me personally, I would rather kill my mouth than my lungs. I used to kill my lungs, but I'd rather kill my mouth instead, basically. So another thing I wanted to talk about today is another deck that I feel is basically another version of Zodiac as well, but it's more along the lines of it being more like a Zodiac deck built with a red eyes type of deal, because this is a straight up burn deck, and of course I am talking about the Trickstar decks. First off, I think it's actually a very good deck. Again, I have a lot of respect for the deck because it's a burn deck. You've got these monsters and spells out that basically you're penalizing your opponent for pulling off their combos, for drawing, for that matter. And I even think there's a penalization for resurrection as well. By basically, you have the corresponding monster out, your opponent loses 200 life points, along with the field spell that goes along with that, causing your opponent another, I think it's 200 points of damage. Now, very recently, I went up against a Spiral deck on the Dawn of a New Era game. That basically pissed me off. My opponent was able to take me out in one turn, which with a burn deck there's always that possibility. Always. I forget the name of the spell card, but it was the effect of the card was every time your opponent takes damage due to a card effect, except this card's effect, deal them, I think it was like another 800 points of damage or something like that. Again, I could be wrong. If any of you guys might know the name of the card that I just described, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below. So yeah, that deck is definitely becoming basically another variation of the Zodiac deck, and there are several decks out there that I place in a category known as the Zodiac problem, because let's face it, while Zodiac, yes, was a good deck, it was a deck that just ran entirely too rampant on the competitive scene, was too fucking popular in the meta. Spirals became at that level as well, especially after that ban list came out, the last ban list, and that, just like I theorized, it opened up the gateway for a lot of decks to really start showing their stuff. By Konami taking out Dryden and Broad Bull completely from the game, it opened up the floodgates, plain and simple. So again, with that ban list, with the last ban list, it's opened up the floodgates, and a lot of decks are really going to shine now because of that. And now that Konami has hit the Spiral deck on the ban list, even more decks are going to start showing their stuff now as well. The only deck that is going to pose a problem for every deck out there, unless Konami manages to somehow fix that problem as well, is the Trickstar deck. Just plain and simple, because me personally, yeah, I go to tournaments for fun. I like to, I have genuine fun at tournaments. No matter what the level of tournament is. It can be a local tournament, it can be a regional, it can be, world tournament level, I have fun. But I mean, let's face it, if people are going to a tournament and they're just basically going up against like, you know, prior to this being like spiral after spiral after spiral deck, or trickstar after trickstar after trickstar, that's not much fun, because 9 times out of 10 you're losing those duels because of what those decks are capable of. And again, by Konami doing what they did to spirals, that's going to help out a lot more. But now I feel at least they need to make some kind of hit on the Trickstar deck, because I mean, just like Zodiacs ran rapid, just like Spirals ran rapid, Trickstars have been running rapid recently as well, and are going to continue to do so until Konami does something about it. Again, that's just my opinion though. But again, I still look for a lot of decks to come back onto the scene and really cement their legacy back onto the competitive scene, and possibly even become meta decks again. Decks like the Dark Magician deck and all the new support they've gotten, especially in the Legendary Dragon deck set with the new Dark Magician Fusion monster. I do look for the Cyber Dragon decks to start coming back now, especially with their newest support in, Mega Fleet Dragon. A lot of people are speculating that Pendulums are going to make a comeback. One Pendulum deck that I know for certain that has been doing very well in the new format is the Pendulum Magician deck. Matter of fact, I went up against one recently where the duelist running the deck threw Zark in with it. Now, I don't recall there really being too many dragons in the deck, but the opponent had managed to summon out Zark and managed to do it very efficiently. I'm not too familiar with the Pendulum Magician deck, because really it's not a deck that I've ever wanted to look into, although I have been considering it ever since I went up against that particular deck with Zark. So it's definitely one I'm going to be looking more into as the days go by. In my free time, of course, because as many of you know, I do work. Right now I'm holding out 2 jobs. One is actually coming up on the end of its season now, and that one is at Spirit. The other one is at Cabela's, and Cabela's works me anywhere from 24 to 40 hours a week. So, again, in my free time, I do a lot of research. I do, and the research I do into is mainly on decks that I want to build, or decks that I'm interested in, to try to see how the mechanics of them work. So Pendulum Magician is definitely going to be one of the ones I look into. But again, Dark Magician, I really expect them to become hot and heavy onto the competitive scene now. Cyber Dragon, I look for them to make some kind of comeback into the competitive scene in the format we're in now. Blue Eyes White Dragon decks, I look for them to come back with immense vengeance. I look for Red Eyes to come back, both with and without the support they got in the Legendary Duelist set. One deck, and as many of you know, this is my particular deck of choice. One deck that I'm hoping makes a comeback very soon is, of course, the Galaxy Eyes deck. And every variation of it. Galaxy Photon, Galaxy Cypher. My preferred one that I run, as I've mentioned in a couple of past videos, is a Blue Eyes Galaxy Eyes Hybrid. But it's my take on that deck, and it works very well for me. So again, I have a great deal of expectation on all of these decks coming back onto the competitive scene at some level. I look for quite a few of them to do very well in the competitive scene as well. The top three that I'd have to say that I look to do very well once they're able to re-cement their rights into the competitive scene, as you guys know. Of course, Blue Eyes, Dark Magician, and then I'm at a toss-up point here between the Red Eyes and Galaxy Eyes deck because they both have a lot of potential in them to really become great again, and just stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, this video, the main topic of the video was just to touch on, you know, Spirals being hit on the ban list. It takes effect again as of November 6th. Some people are saying November 5th, but according to the official website that I go to, it is November 6th. And then I just kind of wanted to touch on Trickstars and how I feel, you know, they're another deck that belongs in that same category, you know, with Zodiac and Spirals, because it presents a problem, and it's a problem that definitely does need to be fixed. And then again, I wanted to touch on what decks that I expect to do very well in the competitive scene at some point in the future. And again, one deck that I'm hoping to see come back and really just start to do very well in the competitive scene. I know it's still a deck that's used for fun to this day, but I'd like to start seeing it do very well on the competitive scene, and that is some kind of variation of a Cyberdark deck. You know, there's more power in the Cyberdark monsters than a lot of people realize. You know, so I mean, yeah, that basically covers everything for this video. Again, I'm sorry you guys had to see me, you know, use my spit bottle every once in a while. But again, like I said, we all get our nicotine somehow. You know, whether we smoke, whether we vape. As you guys know, I do vape on occasion. Right now my vapes are kind of broken down because I need to get new coils for them. But my preferred method of getting my nicotine in is snuff and occasionally chewing tobacco. So I understand if it grossed some of you guys out, but please bear with me. Again, it's how I get my nicotine in. We all have our habits. Some are grosser than others, you know. But so yeah, that basically covers it for this video. And as always, guys, leave your comments down below on what you think, what decks you think are going to start doing very well in the meta, what you think of the upcoming ban list concerning the hit that the Spiral deck has taken, what you think the Spiral deck's direction is going to be after this, your thoughts on the Trickstar decks and stuff like that. I look forward to seeing all of your comments. I truly do, because you know, most of your comments actually do help me out with making future videos and stuff like that. And again, of course, I hope you like the new intro into the videos. I am going to be working on a new intro, one that I feel is really going to fit the channel a lot better than this kind of generic intro that you guys have seen the videos with as of right now. But yeah, as always, like and subscribe to the channel if you found this to be, you know, informational, if you found any bit of it entertaining. I try to do my best to entertain you guys, but, you know, not every video is as entertaining as some of my past ones. I try to limit down on the rants now. But yeah, just like and subscribe to the channel as always. Hit me up on Facebook. I do believe I meant to give you guys a link to the Dragon Master Facebook page on the last video. I do apologize that I didn't. It will be connected to this video. That is a for sure thing. That is a guarantee. So, you know, hit me up on Facebook. I look forward to getting messages from you guys. I do a lot of posts on Facebook, try to keep you guys as up to date as possible. And I'm going to be doing my best to stay as up to date as well. So until next time, YouTube, this is your boy Dragon Master signing out. Peace.